Blogging has become a real phenomenon. Earlier this year, one site called Tumblr listed more than 100 million blogs, a number that was growing every day. In many cases, blogs have become more than a marketing tool. They become businesses in their own right. And one great example is Mediterranean Baby. Nicole Ziccarelli started blogging at mediterraneanbaby.com about fresh, healthy food when she started her family. Now she's become a web-based missionary of sorts, proclaiming the blessings at hand from fresh local foods. Nicole Ziccarelli, welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here today.
Yeah, well, tell me a little bit about your story, because you're an attorney here in our region, and now you're like internet blogger and all this other stuff.
I am an attorney here in the region. I started out at a larger firm in Pittsburgh under the tutelage, I like to say, of Bobby Del Greco, and he was just a wonderful mentor for me and really started me off on the right foot in the Pittsburgh area. And subsequent to that, I got married and I moved to Westmoreland County, and it kind of took me out of the greater Pittsburgh region, so to speak. And I was in the Westmoreland County area, and I got to clerk for another wonderful mentor of mine, Judge Chris Shear, on the Common Pleas Court there in family law. And I had my children while I worked for him. I have a son who is 2.5. His name is Franco, and my twin daughters are 1, and their names are Melina and Valentina.
Okay, you're busy right on the home front, right? Yeah.
Very busy. And my judge actually, he encouraged me to start my own practice. So as of January of this year, 2013, I started my own practice.
2 little kids, and you set on your own to start your own law practice.
Three
little kids, I'm sorry. 2 little twins, right? 1 year old. Yeah.
Right. And I kind of started it just as a part-time practice, and it's really started to grow so much faster than I thought it would.
Okay, so you got your hands full. You got kids at home, and they're really little. You're starting a law practice, and then you decide to get into the internet?
Right. Well, I really didn't know what this whole blogging world was about, but it was far larger and more complicated than I could have imagined it. But it is very easy to start a blog. So that was the good side of it. And when I had my son, you know, when I started to create recipes for him, I was mindful of how can I make recipes for my family, for my husband and I, and then also incorporate things for my son to introduce him to the types of flavors that we eat on a daily basis at a young age. Because I was always fearful that he would grow up and then not like the foods that we ate.
All they want is chicken nuggets and ketchup. Nothing wrong with ketchup, but maybe not the only thing in your diet. Right?
And there's a time and a place for everything, you know.
Sure.
But for the majority of the time, we eat olive oil, garlic, tons of vegetables, and that's kind of our diet. Lemon juice, always lemon juice. So I really wanted him to kind of develop a palate for that, and so far it has seemed to work. And I started to create recipes, and so the idea of Mediterranean Baby was kind of formed at that point, but it wasn't until I had my girls that I thought, no, I need to put pen to paper, because there are other really busy moms and dads in the region, and more than the region, I mean at large, that are looking online and want to know what could they make for their families and their babies and their toddlers at the same time.
Yeah, but I mean, having been there, little kids, two working people, I mean, you just, and all this wonderful stuff, all this wonderful produce and everything else at the local supermarkets, and yet you think, oh, the time it takes to cook healthy. It's a lot easier to just grab a jar off the shelf or a box or whatever else.
I think you would think that at first blush. It's easy to say that, but really when you look at these recipes, you can see they're simple. It's back to the basics. It's what did our ancestors eat in Greece, in Italy, in the Mediterranean? What were our ancestors eating that gave them such wonderful, fulfilled, healthy lives? And it's simple. It's that simple produce you can pick up with a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of spice, and you can make something wonderful in a really short amount of time. And for the more complicated recipes, you just work on them on a Sunday afternoon if you can, you know, carve out some time, and you can keep it throughout the week.
So you've been doing the blog. Now, are you trying to, is this evolving into a business of itself? Or,
it really is, and it's really exciting. I am really trying to, what I try to say is that I am not the exception, but I'm exceptionally passionate about my blog, about my food, and about sharing my recipes with other moms and dads locally that really want to do the best for their kids, but really aren't sure what that is in the kitchen. The kitchen can be very daunting and overwhelming, and you just have to kind of get in there and get started. And what is a parent's greatest motivation? Our children. And what is the best thing for our children? To spend time with them. It's like anything else in life. Our time is our greatest commodity. That's what our kids think about us. They just want our time. They want one-on-one time. And when you're in the kitchen, you're building their self-esteem. You're teaching them about measurements. You're letting them taste things. And they're far more likely to eat the food if they make it. because they're excited about it. They see it cooking, they can smell it, they want to try it. And that's what I've seen has been very successful, at least with my family in the kitchen, and it's been wonderful for us.
That's great. Only a few seconds left, but where do you go from here?
I don't know. That's a good question. I am working with a marketing firm now, and we're kind of deciding, you know, where do we go from here? For me, I mean, Bill, you've known me for a couple of years. I always have large goals and ambitions, and that's not going to change now. I want my kids to be proud of me and really take Mediterranean Baby as far as I can. So where that's going to lead, I'm not sure, but let's start local. Let's start with local people, local ideas and companies and produce, and see where it goes from there.
Very cool. They will find you online where?
Yes, at MediterraneanBaby.com.
Easy enough. Nicole Ziccarelli, thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And we'll be back in a minute with a little dollars and cents. Stay with us.